Hey, this is Nikki G and welcome to Better Commander. What you want to do, Jhoira? Plop out free artifacts all day? Yeah, Jhoira, that's what we want to do. Jhoira, or some say Jhoira, getting busted cards over and over again. First we had Jhoira of the Gitu, then Weatherlight Captain, now Ageless Innovator. Look at that art. She's just standing in front of some cannons, who cares? This, as always, is sound military policy. Jhoira is better known as the immortal artificer with the sweet bangs. She's got a bunch of lore, and her dating practices featured prominently in early Magic storylines. Her former boyfriends include Jhoira and Karik, son of Yawgmoth. Anyway, I'm about to read the card, but first, slap that like button, powerbomb the subscribe button, and perform a spinning clothesline in the comments, brother. Jhoira, Ageless Innovator, a blue and a red for a legendary creature, human artificer. It's a 2/3, has tap. Put 2 ingenuity counters on Jhoira, Ageless Innovator. Then you may put a artifact card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, where X is the number of ingenuity counters on Jhoira. I mean, come on, this thing is bonkers. It costs 2 mana, it costs 27 cents. Turn 3, you're plopping out 2 mana value artifacts. Turn 4, 4 mana artifacts, and so on and so forth. The problem with this strategy is that you tend to empty your hand very quickly, and artifacts are vulnerable to mass removal like Vandal Blast and other stacksy stuff, but whatever, you can't live your life cowering in fear over here. Untapping Jhoira means more free artifacts too, so we included some good untappers. Jhoira is also a big target, so what do we do to shore up these weaknesses? That's the question. The strategy with this deck is to outvalue your opponents and build a strong artifact-centered board presence. I didn't include any combos, as this is kind of a 75% budget deck, but there are a ton of artifact tutors and combos that you can run in a spikier deck. Man, I got 75 bucks to burn, so let's build it, and I'll give some more expensive upgrades later. Swiftfoot Boots. This is always a good include in a commander-centered deck, even more so when we're centered around artifacts. But have you seen Winged Boots? It's 1 and a blue for an artifact equipment. The equipped creature has flying and ward 4. Whenever a equipped creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 4, has equip 1. Jhoira was even wearing calf boots in her art, so we're on theme and ready to rock. I don't have them in the budget version, but Lightning Greaves are a fantastic fashion accessory as well for our commander. Now we're in blue, so let's include some of the cheaper counter spells in here as well. We have counter spell, stoic rebuttal, and negate. You can go really wild if you want with interaction. Free is always better, and if you can get your hands on deflecting swat or fierce guardianship, I mean, more power to you, brother. Now, untapping Jhoira is a good plan to maximize our free artifacts. Corridor Monitor is 1 in blue for an artifact creature. Construct, it's a 1/4. When it enters the battlefield, untap target artifact or creature you control. This is just a sad little key fella, but it leads to some interesting satisfying play patterns, where you cheat it out on turn 3, untap Jhoira, then tap her again to plop out a Solemn Simulacrum or some other similar value piece. We got the Kelpie guide in there. He's guiding Post Malone wherever he's going. Whatever, man. This thing rocks. I also put in Cerulean Wisps, as this replaces itself in a deck where we're emptying our hand pretty fast. And rounding out our untappers, we have Patriarch Seal and 1000-Year Elixir. Patriarch Seal is a card I want to highlight real quick. It's 3 generic mana for an artifact. It has tap, add 1 mana of any color, and has 1 in tap, untap target legendary creature you control. This card I think is fantastic. It's a little overlooked, maybe a little underplayed. It's worth looking at anyway. So when you're goldfishing this deck, you're going to be asking yourself the question, Nick, how the heck are we drawing cards in this deck? We're emptying our hand really quick, and there's nothing worse than sitting there with no interaction just waiting to die. So first off, I'll mention these 3 artifacts because they fit together in my mind as a nice cycle, even if they don't thematically. Mindstone, Hedron Archive, and Dreamstone Hedron. People poop on these cards all the time, but if we plop these out for free with Jhoira, we can cash them in for cards later. That's what we need. This flexibility makes them a little better than they look on paper, especially in a budget deck. Then you got the Research Thief. She stole all my research. 4 and a blue for an artifact creature, Moonfolk Wizard. It's a 3/3 with flash and flying. Whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. One of our primary win conditions in this deck is flying beaters and artifact creatures. This card turns all those artifacts in combat into cards. Thought Monitor's just flying around at work. What's that guy thinking about? This is just a sweet Mold Drifter wannabe in artifacts decks and can get down to like 1 blue mana. Draw 2 cards. It's awesome. What's all this then? Fish and reality chips. It's 1 in the blue for a legendary artifact creature, equipment Jellyfish. It's a 0/4. You can look at the top card of your library anytime. As long as the reality chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. It has reconfigured for 2 in a blue. This thing's awesome. There she is. Look at this little dime piece coming in at $5. Jhoira, Weatherlight Captain. If you want Jhoira, you want more Jhoira, so we can draw some dang cards. Now, Sandstone Oracle, this is a card I find myself putting into more and more budget decks lately. You empty your hand, you draw a bunch of cards, and then you admire this 4/4 flying beater. And you got Reverse Engineer, Thoughtcast, and One with the Machine. These are all really good, cheap draw spells. One with the Machine especially routinely will draw 6 or 7 cards. Tezzeret, Artifice Master, 3 blue for a legendary planeswalker. Tezzeret has loyalty 5. +1 create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying ho-hum. 0. Draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. That's great. -9, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your end step. Search your library for a permanent card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. I like this guy. I like how he's got 1 skeleton arm, 1 regular arm. That's a choice I thought about, but I don't think I could carry it off. But he's drawing us cards for sure. That's all I care about. Alright, time for some artifact creature beatdown. How about Ancient Stone Idol? 10 mana for an artifact creature golem, has flash. It costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature, also has trample. When it dies, create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with trample. This thing's a 12/12. Then we have the Phyrexian Triniform, 9 generic mana for an artifact creature Phyrexian golem. It's a 9/9. When it dies, create 3/3 colorless Phyrexian golem artifact creature tokens. That is Encore for 12. Kappa Cannoneer. This is Leonardo from the Mutant Ninja Turtles after he retired. This makes me sad, this art. It's 5 and a blue for an artifact creature Turtle Warrior. It's a 4/4 with Improvise and Ward 4. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, not meaning that you have to cast it, it just enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Kappa Cannoneer and it can't be blocked this turn. This fellow's going to get big, he's going to provide guaranteed damage, and he benefits from all our tokens that we're making with all our little token makers. Triplicate Titan, 9 generic mana for an artifact creature. It's a golem 9/9 with flying, vigilance, and trample. When it dies, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token with flying, 1 with vigilance, and 1 with trample. Well, it's got some keywords. It's got cool glowing eyes, and the bull and the hawk and the guy, they have a real fun time in their apartment like Three's Company with John Ritter. There's about 25 artifact creatures that can bash in and smack our opponents. Also put some removal creatures in there like Duplicant and Meteor Golem. So how are we getting these maniacs in for damage? Well, we have Cyberdrive Awakener, 5 and a blue for an artifact creature construct. It's a 4/4 with flying. Other artifact creatures you control have flying. When it enters the battlefield, until the end of turn, each non-creature artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/4. Cool, he's a mech robot. He's awakening all the cyberpunks. And we got a brand new one for you, Thunderhawk Gunship. 6 generic mana for an artifact vehicle. It's a 6/6 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/2 white Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance. Whenever Thunderhawk Gunship attacks, attacking creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. Crew 2. I can't really say enough about this thing. This is a great commander card in a vehicle deck, an artifact deck, a token deck, a go-wide deck. Plus it's colorless and gives your entire board evasion. We also have a Reckless Fireweaver and his grandpa, Ingenious Artillerist. These ping when artifacts come in, and when you're playing a huge mess of artifacts, the damage can really stack up on these guys, especially if you get them out early. Guess what? We're also playing all the artifact lands. Silver Bluff Ridge, Seed of the Sinai, Great Furnace, Darksteel Citadel. Jhoira can hit these with her ability as far as I can tell. It just says that you may put an artifact card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, where X is the number of ingenuity counters on Jhoira. So it's going to be ramp time, baby. Anyways, I put together a budget deck, but it could easily be upgraded with some more expensive cards. How about Warm Coil Engine? That do anything for you? How about Blightsteel Colossus? That exists as a card, so you might as well slap it on in the artifact deck. And you have Platinum Angel. She doesn't even let you lose the game. She is impossible to please. I also have a Memnarch in my Saheeli deck, and he puts in work in there, the big head weirdo that he is with his little T-Rex arms. Anyways, check out the deck, Goldfish it, try it out on Spell Table. Or don't, I don't care. This is a fun, easily upgradable deck with a super powerful commander. Everybody's sleeping on Jhoira, but I'm going to have some fun slapping artifacts onto the field and doing lots of stuff. Have fun out there, my sweet, sweet viewers. You are the real MVPs. This is Nicky G from Better Commander, signing off.